Says we're
Peace and
live.
blessings, peace and blessings. What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Office Alley right here on Trailblazers Radio. You guys could have been anywhere else, but you guys are right here with us, and we most definitely appreciate that so very much, man. So you're tuned into the Office Alley. I am your host, FLBD, and the young lady to my right or to my left, however you're looking at your screen, we're gonna jump into who she is in just a moment. But first and foremost, I want to thank everyone who has tuned into us and who has been listening to us, who's been also watching us on Facebook Live and also on our YouTube channel, but also on our various other um, platforms that we have on Facebook and YouTube. We most definitely appreciate that. It does not go without notice, and we most definitely appreciate that so very much. But now that we got that out the way, man, the young lady to my right or left, the young lady to my right or to my left, whichever way you're looking at your screen. I'm gonna give her an introduction. I know she doesn't need an introduction, but I'm gonna do the best that I can to give her an introduction. So I met this young lady at a book event that I participated in Atlantic Station a
Uh-huh.
little over a month ago. Had a nice conversation about a lot of things, and talked a lot about her book. We talked a lot about her writing journey, but we're gonna get in. I'm gonna let her talk to you guys about that. But I want to give a warm welcome to this young lady, Miss Tequisha Baker.
Thank you. Hello,
You
hello,
know,
everyone. Thank you. Such a nice, warm welcome. I am so excited to be here. Um, since I've been published for a year. So since I have started with my first book, Braylon Masters the Dark, I have had the opportunity to meet such amazing people. I mean publishers, fellow authors, illustrators. I mean, just so many creatives. And I'm always excited to connect and meet people and talk about what I do, hear what they do. But I'm just really overjoyed this evening, I must say, because this is my first time doing something of this magnitude. So I am on cloud nine right now. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm glad that I'm glad that you feel that way, and I want to make sure that when this is over, and while we're doing this, and when this is over, that you feel like you're at home. So
Hmm.
I want to make sure that you feel. I make sure that you are comfortable and that you are at home. So,
Hmm.
but again, thank you so very much, Mr. Quisha, for coming on and just taking the time out of your Friday to
Yeah.
talk to us about your books, about your writing journey, about what we can expect from you coming down the line, all these great things. But before this, and I don't want to sound forward or anything like that, but I want to jump right into that because I know because I want to make sure that I maximize the time that I have with you, and make sure that
Yeah.
we and make sure that I ask the questions that I need to ask and you give the answers that you need to give, but also give people a big bubble into who you are as a writer, as an individual, as a
Hmm.
mom, things of that nature. So
Right.
so your
So,
so so your love of writing, did it come from you being a mother, or did it just come from other influences?
I'm going to tell you something. I have been writing as long as I can remember. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it is the true to fact as it comes to my life and my artistry and the origin of me developing a real passion for this. I honestly started more so in the genre of poetry. I probably started around the age 6 or 7. And I would just see scenarios around my household, scenarios that feelings I had about things that I watched on television, things that I saw amongst my friends in school, especially by the time I got into about fifth grade. And I would just write short thoughts about it, fragments. I would say more so fragments. And I had one of my teachers, very near dear, very amazing, loving teacher of mine, basically tell me, Taquisha, this is poetry. This is considered poetry. So I was putting fragments together and basically just developing my words, my thoughts, um, in my own creative way before I even understood the term poetry itself. So I would say that my writing originated from my experiences from the start, from when I was a child. Okay. And then once I got into middle school and I started to become more educated on different genres, whether it be fiction, nonfiction, prose poetry, different dynamics of poetry, short stories, biographies, autobiographies, and so forth. Once I started to be presented with different types, more types of writing, that's when I started to really say, that's when I discovered the beauty, I'm going to call it beauty, the beauty in being able to create characters in your head and have full control over what does and doesn't happen to them. I'm talking beginning, middle to end. So I really developed a passion for that. Just, I would say, experiences. I would say the love of creative control. Those were probably the two main origins for writing. Once I became a mom, and the mothers out there who may be watching, they know being a mom and being a parent in general is a completely different ballpark. Whoever you thought you were, whatever you thought you knew, sometimes goes completely down the toilet and you are revamped in a sense and a whole other person because of this little person you have created. So being a mom most definitely, um, I would say, influenced my writing as well. And that's what geared me into children's books. I love children. My background is also a special ed teacher. So I love learning. I love seeing kids develop independence. I love the opportunity to see kids be presented with something that's unfamiliar. And then at some point it becomes like back secondhand knowledge to them. So me starting to do a children's book stemmed from me wanting to empower my child. I have two children, a 12 and a soon to be 6-year old. My son Braylon was experiencing a fear, as most 4 and 5 year olds do. And I came up with the idea of presenting the same scenario that we were dealing with in our home, and I put him in third person so that he could see himself in a different light and recognize his strengths through simple writing.
Wow, that's what's up. I like that, man.
Mm-hmm.
That you put your son in that light and put him in the third person perspective.
Yeah.
Um, so as far as like now that we know where your love of writing comes from, who do you cite as influences?
Oh man, I have so many. I absolutely one of my childhood favorites would probably be, well, my middle school favorite would be Connie B. Wild. I love Connie B. Wild. She has more secondary, middle school level books, and I love her books because there's lessons, there's life, but a lot of it is written from more so of a adolescent standpoint. So I love that. Yes. So Connie B. Wild was one of my very first influences for sure.
And now are there any other influences now as you've matured as a writer?
Definitely. I would say that I do like Nikki Turner. She is another one that I really like. Here lately, I have really become extremely fond of authors who are not, how can I put it, who were not authors by origin per se. I have really dabbled into actresses, singers, models, public influences who have jumped into writing. For example, Gabrielle Union and Alicia Keys and Michelle Obama. I have really taken a strong liking to people who have poured their experiences, whether they've had, partner writers, ghost writers in a sense or not for their projects. I've really grown into seeing people display their real life experiences into a book because it's not their origin per se. At least the public wouldn't think so.
Wow. So you're into those type of people who are not necessarily writers by either by design or by by choice, but more or
Hmm.
less by kind of like more or less by maybe influenced by maybe a thing or maybe an experience.
Yeah, and the reason why is because I'm not a big fan of the idea of being boxed in. Okay, so we
Right.
see Gabrielle Union, for example, and we think about acting. She's beautiful enough to be a model. We think about some of her quirky and unforgettable characters she's portrayed in different projects. But you don't see writer per se when you see her. You see someone like Alicia Keys, and you think music. You don't think, you don't initially think of a book, but her, for example, her project, More Myself, is was one of the most phenomenal projects I ever read in year 2020. And you wouldn't think that. And even she says herself, writing isn't my origin, but I had a lot on my mind, and I really wanted to display my experiences in words. And I think it came out beautifully. So I just like the idea of seeing illustrators, writers, singers, whomever we are, who we all consider ourselves artists, stepping out of their lane sometimes. And me being a special ed teacher and me being an entrepreneur primarily, me being an author, although writing is my origin, me becoming an author was not something that people in my closest circle, I think, could foresee.
Oh, that's what's up. I like that. I like that. Now, jumping in when you jumping in around with children's books, was it more or less an automatic thing, or did you have to think there was something that you give some thought to?
I'm going to be honest with you. I went into the lane of children's book mainly my parenting experiences that that put me there. Um, I'm very strategic as a mother. I love to show and tell, and I love to empower my kids. Not just empower them, but show them how they can empower themselves. And so, me going through that very first scenario with my son, it just it's like a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, you know what, this would be a really cool book project for other kids, because it was something that illuminated him and made him feel stronger and more confident. So I would say the children's book lane definitely arise from my parenting experiences. Absolutely.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And when how easy, or should I say how difficult or how easy was it to incorporate your child into your stories? Was it kind of like a thing that you had to give a thought process to, or was it just something that was easy peasy and you gave it no thought process? You just like, we're doing it anyway.
Well, let's be honest, nothing's easy, right?
Right, right.
and if it's easy, it probably isn't going to be credible. Let's just be real.
Indeed.
Yeah, so for this, I wanted to highlight his character as much as possible, all the way down to the way I wanted the illustrator to make his hair, all the way down to the color that I wanted his slippers, all the way down to some of the dialogue that I had in the book. And I don't have a lot of dialogue in the book, but even some of the dialogue pieces, my son, he says like, like things that he says when he's being reprimanded or corrected. He likes to try to intervene in conversation. So I had to think about the way he acts, the way his facial expressions are, the way that he speaks. I mean, even my illustrator, Cameron Wilson, he could tell you, we went page by page and we spent a lot of time making sure that Braylon in real life, that the Braylon cartoon version, animated version, resembled the Braylon in real life as much as possible. So it was a lot of thought, and I'll be honest with you, we're talking page by page, and even though page by page, and even though I have a second book, and the way I wanted Braylon to look was probably already formatted, we still had different emotions in the new book. We had different dialogue in the new book. So it wasn't like we were just cutting and pasting Braylon from one book to the other. So thought all the way across the board, definitely.
Wow. I mean, and I can see how difficult or how difficult that can be to incorporate, a child or even a family member into a work of such as that, because especially because now it translates from the physical realm to the written page, to the written or drawn page.
Yeah,
And it had, for some of us who was a stickler of, like, well, I won't say a perfectionist like me, but some of us say it has to be just right, or it
yeah.
will be presented.
Yeah, and you're right, and I get it because I always tell people in my circle, whether it's my personal circles or my professional circles, I am a perfectionist at heart, and it's such a bad thing to be. It means that we care about our work, we care about our artistry, so it's a good thing. But on the flip side, it's such a bad thing to be, and I say that because sometimes we overthink our work. I know I do. I speak for myself. I overthink my work sometimes. Sometimes it's probably at a 9 out of 10. But I look and say, maybe that's a 5. Let's go back to the drawing board. So I think it makes us overthink. I think that sometimes when we do too much revision, whether it be our drafts or whether it be our images, sometimes I think we lose the authenticity of it sometimes when we do too much tweaking. That's just my creative opinion. So I understand being a perfectionist, and it was really important to me for it to seem as real as possible, especially as it comes to his personality.
Got you. I understand that. So just so staying on the authenticity part of authenticity part of it. How and this is pretty much a no brainer type question, but I want to ask this because some people will look at it in a different way. But when it came to creating the story and creating this world, especially especially now that your son is the center point of it, how important is it to have that authenticity as it pertains to appearance, as it pertains to mannerism, as it pertains to maybe dialogue and conversation between characters?
Hmm. I'm gonna tell you something. It's extremely important. I consider it in everything that I do. When I was creating these two books, these first two projects, Braylon Masters the Dark and Braylon Masters His Name, I looked at the way he walked. I looked at the way he spoke. I looked at what we were dealing with realistically right now. I also had to consider what's going on in society because we all know book writing 101. We want to make sure that we are producing something that makes people want to pick up this book and turn the page. So I was also considering what other parents may be dealing with their 5 and 6 year olds because I'm in the children's book lane. So extremely important. And being that I'm in the lab right now, because let me tell you something, I am always working. I'm working on another project as we speak. I'm looking at who he is now. How is he speaking? How is he walking? What are we dealing with in this house today? So the next book will highlight another milestone, but the next book won't be exactly like the last two. But you better believe that you will feel a sense of familiar vibe from the character himself, because he is the brand. He is the face now. So yeah.
Now, speaking of brands and faces, it's how as a parent, how does that make you feel to know that something that first of all something that you've written is become popular, but also now that your son is a face of everything that you write now.
Um, can I say Superwoman?
Yeah, you
It
can.
makes me, look, that's my crown. No, seriously, it makes me feel extremely creditable. It makes me feel like I'm doing something purposeful. It makes me happy. Let me tell you, it gives me joy to know that I'm writing something that I care about, that I'm writing something that's a source of entertainment to other people. Um, and he is about to be 6 in a matter of days, so he is a lot more mature than your average 5 and 6 year old. So we talk. He's very knowledgeable of what I'm doing. He knows that we have books and that people purchase them, and then I do events like this and different things for the projects. And so it makes me feel very empowered, and as if I have started a legacy that will extend way beyond maybe my own years. So it's a great feeling.
Well, I mean, and I most definitely can agree with that because I mean, I think that authenticity is like oh, extremely important when you're
Mm-hmm.
creating these imaginative worlds with these characters that end up being larger than life. And the simple fact of the Superwoman vibe, I love that because it's
Yeah.
when you're creating a world like this and you involve your child in it, it brings such a positive reaction to other people. It's that crowd is well deserved. That crowd is very well deserved. I
Yes.
love it. I love
And I'm gonna say, speaking of
I love
positivity, I just want to touch on positivity. Because we don't have, and some people in my circle will say that I'm just tipping along with butterflies and sorry, excuse my dog, but butterflies and fairies and all of these imaginative things in my head. But the reality is, I do live on a high. I choose to live on a high, and I'm human. And I just think that things like children books, and not just children books, but any literary projects that empower people and our source of positive entertainment for people. We need that, because there's so much going on in the world. Just speaking in the sense of positivity. You see Braylon in the back. Would you like to say hi, Braylon? Say hello.
But
Hi. Braylon's saying hello.
hi, Braylon. How are you?
He is he's a little
And then he's gone.
I did he's gone. He's a little camera shy today. I said, well, it's all right. I don't want to, pressure him too much, but he knows what's going on.
Right, right. So the one thing I asked though, because when as authors and as writers, when we create these worlds or we create these environments for people to get lost in, you know,
Mhm.
we come across a certain degree of what we could consider success.
Mhm.
Where do you see do you consider yourself successful right now? And if not, where what can you improve?
Let me tell you something. I'll start with the latter. Okay, so where I can improve, um, I would say I could improve in my ways of thinking. And what I mean by that is, I think that fear is the devil. Fear is a notion that consumes all of us at some point of our week, some point of our month. It comes, even the strongest, most confident individual. So I think that could improve in the area of not allowing fear to consume me, because when I am having fearful thoughts, I think sometimes my my ideas shrink. And my ideas shrink not because I don't believe in my ability as a writer and a creator. My ideas shrink because I'm afraid to go for that bigger mountain. So I'll go for the little hill because I can see the other side of that hill. So I'm gonna go and jump. I know I can do one jump and I'm good. But that mountain over there, it might take a week or so. And I'm afraid of rejection, aren't we all? So
We are.
I think that's something that I could improve on. But you asked me, do I consider myself to be successful as of today? Absolutely. I consider myself to be successful because I started. It's somebody somewhere, they may not be watching this, they may not even be awake right now, but it's somebody somewhere who's sitting on a book idea, whether it be children's novel, nonfiction, or what have you, who haven't even started. So I think that for those of us who have the guts to say, you know what, I'm gonna find a publisher, I'm gonna get an editor, I'm gonna complete this draft, we are successful.
Well, and you know what that counts for a whole lot because
Hmm.
there's a lot of folks out there who have these witty ideas and these inventions and they don't even start them, and
Hmm.
before you know it, the years go by and then they pass away and they may have had the best idea in the world, but it wasn't exposed because they were too afraid to leap out on faith and just say, hey, let me just put it out here.
Yeah, and they're probably sitting on jewels. Like you're probably sitting on something magnificent. So I say, take the leap, try it. I say it all the time. Whatever it is, do it. Try it. And if it get dished back, and you get some hard criticism, okay, go back to the drawing board. But I mean, nothing beats a fail but a try, right?
Exactly. I mean, and my thing is, I always say just start because the worst thing you can do is fail.
Yeah. And there's no fail. Fail is such an illusion, because as long as you get that lesson, then did we really lose? That's how I see it.
Oh, most definitely, because because there's beauty in the lesson.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that
There's
one
like
of the big I
there's
think
so
that
much
one
beauty
of
in
the
the lesson,
biggest lessons
but
I think one of
So
the
I do
biggest
want.
lessons that I've taken in with this is patience, because I've had to wait in so many avenues. I had to wait for my creative processes to flow naturally. I've had to wait for my illustrator to give me his best version of images. I've had to wait for the publication process to do what it has to do.
Oh yeah.
I've had to wait for some support. Let's be honest, because I didn't get 50 and 60 and 80 sales immediately. I had to wait in the midst of promoting, spreading the word, passing the links, going doing footwork, and paying to be a part of events where you're in position and you're in front of people. There was always a waiting process. Now the rewards did come, thank God for that. But patience, I think, is one of the biggest things I've learned in the midst of becoming an author, especially a self-published author.
Oof. And I think a lot of us can speak to the challenges of that. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm a self-published author, so there are challenge there are some challenges in that. I mean, I can most definitely I can talk about that all day, but that could be a subject for another show anyway.
yeah,
But good grief.
yeah. You
So
want to pencil that one in for the
let's
next
say,
time?
oh
Definitely.
yeah, most definitely. So let's segue
Okay.
into
Look,
your books.
I have them
Braylon Learns
here.
the Dark and
Listen,
Braylon
because
Masters
let
his
me
name.
tell you, this is
So
Braylon. I don't know if y'all can see that. I have my ring light going. I was trying to make it real nice back here for you all, but this is Braylon Masters the Dark. This is my first project, my first baby. I have two kids upstairs. This is my third kid, if you if I must say. I published this on August of 2020, so I'm a year in. We just recently had a year celebration, and we said happy birthday to BMTD. BMTD is the initials for the book, Braylon Masters the Dark. This is a very special tale for me because, again, this is based on a real life experience that happened with my son, and me being able to be clever enough to put him in third person really made him see himself in a different light. And so this is really special. His father is featured in this book. An animated version of myself is featured in this book. My 12-year-old, she was 11 at the time. She's featured in this book. So it's like a family, it's kind of like a family based book. It shows some of the supports that Braylon has, as well as him being in a presenting mood. We have that climax, and then we see that ending result. So even in a short children's book, it's not as lengthy as as a chapter book would be, but you can see the rise and the fall even in this project here. So this is my first baby. And again, it was based off a full real life experience. And what I did was I had so much fun with bringing Masters of the Dark that I ended up doing a coloring book version of it. And I did that because I'm thinking about, what does the consumer want? What does the kid need? Tell me one child in this age range, I'm saying ages 3 to second grade, that doesn't enjoy coloring. Art is expression. So with this book, it's the same exact images that's in the reading book, but in the stain free, smear free pages. I love it, love it, love it. I know you probably can't see that well, but it's okay because I'll tell you about the website too. But I love this book because the kids who purchased it were able to color Braylon how they saw him. So they had, and most people bought the bundle. Most people wanted the reading book and the coloring book so they could have their own creative way. But people were able to color him based on how they saw him. Or I got so many. Let me tell you something. Social media is can be such a beautiful land. It can be such a beautiful land when it's used in the right way. I got so much love for this book. I got so many pictures, cool reviews. I mean, just to see other children around my son's age in their living room just coloring away. It was awesome. So I did the coloring book version of BMTD. That was around November of last year. And so then I just kept having fun with it. I said, you know what? We're going to roll with it. And I did Braylon Masters' name. Braylon Masters' name is, and then I told you, you're going to get a feel of Braylon in every project, these and those that are to come. However, there's a different energy as it relates to what's going on. So this book gives you a little more of a fun educational feel. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Braylon Max is his name. But with this book, it's about a 5-year-old learning the letter sequence of his name in his own creative way. And I have a concept that's introduced in this book that a lot of teachers are using in their classrooms. A lot of parents are using their living rooms, and something that my son has even done for fun, since I have developed this book. So in this book, you see another animated version of mommy in here. And what I want to do, one of my goals as it relates to these series is making sure that I show some sense of family support. So you see his father helping him, Braylon's dad is helping him, and Braylon masters the dark. But Braylon's mommy is helping him, and Braylon masters his name. And I guess you can guess that maybe Big Sister will be helping him in the next one. So that's what I wanted to highlight: family. I wanted to highlight childhood independence. I wanted to highlight fun and representation always. A black boy doing something positive, a black child being depicted in a positive manner. I'm always pro that. So those are my 3 projects.
Wow. And so how important is it to display that positivity in your works?
I mean, it's everything to me. It's everything to me because I believe that not just my child, not just my 5-year-old, but I mean a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, even my 12-year-old. I think that children believe that they can based on what they are told in the earlier years. Yes, unfortunately, we have kids who may have a rough background and then they may be fostered or they may develop confidence a little later in their childhood and they may do a 360. But I think that as early as we can push that confidence, that self identity into them, the best. So I always want home to be where Braylon and Chastity, my 2 babies, is where they learn, is the origin of where they develop and learn who they are. So these books have given me the opportunity to depict that for Braylon and hopefully for other little brown boys who pick it up.
Wow. I love that. That's authentic and positive at the same time
Mm-hmm.
because there aren't too many authentic or positive influences that are around, especially in this day and age, especially with the advent of social media and the
Mm-hmm.
microwave culture that we live in. So to have something
Mm-hmm.
that's organic, such as this, is wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't, and I also didn't want it to be like, I understand that there are books, and we have more now probably ever, or as a, on a literary stance. So I know that we see more black characters on books, and that's absolutely phenomenal, right? But I know that there are some that are a little more advanced, maybe ages 8 to 12-year-old range. They're more secondary reader, so they're a little more advanced than what I'm doing. But I just wanted to make sure that I could still push that positive pressure in a sense, but on a in a milder manner, if that made sense. So it doesn't make it less effective. I just wanted it to cater more to the younger reader.
Most definitely, and I like that the fact that you are catering to the more younger readers, the more the readers that are more much more influenced by
Mhm.
what they see in front of them or what they see on page or or TV or on the tablets and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. And
But
let's
again,
be
this
honest, I think that it also made kids like want to, I think not just myself, but I think any authors makes kids want to are major influence and kids wanted to pick up a book. I know we have our ebooks, and that's okay. I'm not an ebook fanatic. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not
me
speaking.
that me either.
Nobody,
Me neither.
listen. No one in the world get offended by Tequisha's opinion. I'm very opinionated, and I hold my own and what I feel. But just to be quite frank, I'm not a big lover of ebooks. I don't get as much joy reading a book from a screen than I do flipping a page. That's just me, and that may be the fact that I'm a '90s kid. But I think that any author who, especially in the children's book lane, who creates a project of any type is an influence for a kid just picking up a book. Just pick it up. So, I mean, I guess there's a book lover in me.
Hey,
What's
but I
book
mean,
lover?
but I get it. I get it though. I
Mhm.
understand. There's nothing like having a book in your hand,
Yeah, yeah,
being able to feel the pages and look at the cover
yes,
and then read the pages, but also allow your imagination to just go crazy while you're reading the book. So there's nothing like
yes.
having a book in your hand.
And think about the crisp feeling when you get a new book.
Brand new book smell.
All my book lovers out there know what I mean. The crisp feeling of turning the page, and that title page is so stiff and so neat.
Man,
Yeah, that's the book lover
them
in me.
crispy pages. Yeah, I love it.
Yes. No, I
It's
understand 100%.
and
100%.
but I mean, I like I said, I love what you're doing, especially when it comes to like bringing the tenets of family, independence, support.
Yeah.
Um, Also, just bringing about the other tenets of just letting kids use their imagination to just run wild and be whatever. Especially when it comes to the coloring book. Now,
Yeah.
does a second book have does your other book have a coloring book with it as well?
Braylon Max's name does not have a coloring book. I am actually in the works of developing another component. So what you will notice is that every book that I have is gonna have a component book. So the coloring book goes with BMTD. Well, for Braylon Matheson's name, I'm working on a more functional workbook in a sense, where kids who are at that level of where they are learning the letter sequence of their names and they are learning how to perfect their penmanship can do that. So I'm developing a fun, very lighthearted yet creative workbook for the little learners. That's going to be the component to this. I'm so excited about it. I've been working on it for probably since December on and off. Like I said, so excited about it. I actually thought about doing the workbook before I thought about the reading book. So, and that's probably the teacher in me because I am a teacher, in my spare time. So, that's probably the love of education that brews in me that made me think about that. But I'm so excited to see the kids who have this on their shelves and the teachers who are promoting this in their classrooms introduce that workbook as that practice for the learner. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be awesome. Um, I don't have a release date yet, but I'm in the lab.
Hey, that works. In the lab is always
Hmm.
good. Now,
Yes.
you did mention that you are a teacher. You did mention that
Yes.
you're a teacher. Now, are there any and I know as a writer myself, any particular idea or any influence can cause me to pick up a pen and a pen or a pencil and a notepad and just jot away. Are there any like experiences that you've had as a teacher or even with other teachers that kind of give you ideas for another project?
Oh, definitely. And it's funny because I was speaking to someone a little earlier today about it. Because I got asked, "What's the next book?" That was the question that I got asked. That's the question that I get asked a lot from my patrons. They're like, "Okay, so what's next? What's up?" Um, one of the experiences that I've seen in the classroom is how behavior is such a pro or con for the learning experience for these students. Okay, so it's all about attitude, and it sounds cliche, but if you think you can do it, usually you do well. If you have a positive attitude, you usually score well in your test. So um, but at the same time, students study habits and ability to retain information from the teacher is altered based on their behavior. We have kids who have some say on the spectrum. They have emotional things going on that's a little difficult for them to control. We have kids who have mood issues because of what's going on at home. We have kids, they're just hungry. They skip breakfast that morning, so they're cranky. So it's all different levels. So one of the ideas that I have been brewing in my brain is kids and moods, children and their behavior, how they think, what they feel, not just how they think and what they feel, but how do they manage as little people. Because see, us adults, we may go to therapy, or we may make a cocktail, or we may take a nap. But as children, little people, they have to develop their own ways of managing what they feel appropriately. So being in the classroom and seeing kids completely lose it in the midst of working, or seeing kids who come in with a bright attitude every day, is definitely something that has made me think about kids and moods. Hmm.
Wow, that would be that's a great thing to pull from because I think with the and this is kind of just to jump a little off subject, but not too much. I think the aspect of addressing those types of things with younger kids is important because of course we can talk about this with adults and adolescents and teenagers until the cows come home because it's something that's readily recognized and seen, but
Hmm.
not with a not with a child that's in pre-K or kindergarten or first or second grade or up to maybe fifth or sixth grade. So I mean, that's something that we don't see.
And it's funny, and it's amazing. What you just said is correct. We don't see it because some of us choose not to see it. And some of us think, not all of us, but some professionals, even some parents, assume that this is just a age and stage thing. But sometimes it's not an age and stage thing. Sometimes it is a psychological thing. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, and I'm not even near it. I mean, but I'm going off of my experiences of the various kids I've worked with in the classroom setting. So you're right. But guess what? What you said is valid. We don't see it. But guess what? That is where it starts. See, the way that a person who's battling different mental health issues or behavior issues at 55, I bet my bottom dollar that they had signs of that when they were 5 years old. I bet you.
Of
That is
course,
where it stems. Childhood.
of course. And I think when you address those issues at that particular level or at that stage, a lot of kids become much more well-rounded individuals, such as
Hmm.
teenagers and as adults. We're all human. We're all gonna have our issues and our blowups. But I think
Yeah.
when it comes to managing them, you know, we can't. And this is another thing that I just noticed. You can't tell a 5 or 6 year old to kind of if they're angry or they're upset, just to kind of just to take a powder. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't work. Or calm down. Or relax. you know, believe it or not, there are some 5-year-olds that struggle with understanding how to relax. So I think that as parents and teachers and as an author, I would like to depict creative and meaningful, realistic ways that a 5-year-old can bring themselves out of a mood. I would love to be able to highlight that in a project with Braylon as a main character. Because of course he has tantrums. He's 5. So it's just something to think about, and just seeing how my kids intertwine in school and so forth. It just made me think about that.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that that as a teacher, as an educator yourself, you find inspiration from other educators in other situations that
Definitely.
give you that
Definitely.
opportunity to be like, maybe I could use this idea in a book, or maybe I could not. Maybe I could just like maybe I could
Mhm.
add this in something that I'm doing right now. So I love the fact that you take those experiences and you think about them and you jot them down and you kind of brainstorm on them. So that's wonderful. I love that.
I'm gonna tell you something. There's all full spectrum in a sense, if you think about it. the parenting, the creating, the profession, because we have our 9 to 5s, and then we have our passions. If you think about it, and I think that if we think about it in that way, work will never feel like work when you learn to connect in the spectrums like that.
Of course
Everything
not.
kind of affects another thing, and it can very well be a very progressive thing if you see how they all are connected. So I try to wake up every day feeling like I'm not at work, even though I'm working. If that makes sense. And that's a task in itself. But, how can I be productive and how can I merge some of these things? Because let's think about it. The word work alone makes you frown. You're like, Lord, I gotta go to work. I'm ready to get off work. I don't feel like going. So we gotta find ways
It ain't
or
5 o'clock
change
yet.
career paths. Right, right. We
Yeah.
gotta find ways. If not changing our career path, we gotta find ways that we can make everything work for us. So my goal, on the writing end, is to be on billboards and to be in every store nationwide, and to have a series based on my books, not just a book series, but a television series. Like, all of that thinking big that I told you, I gotta expand it, go for it, push, because why not? So that's some of the things that I think about, so that work doesn't feel like work for me, so that I'm not inhibiting myself from the ability to create, because I have to create, but that's just me. So I need my creative control, but I want to make sure that I'm not staying too tight in realms. And I think that that's really important for all of us creators, especially as writers. I've been successful enough to land, what, 6 bookstores here. Smaller, the ATL Boutique is one of them, where you and I met.
Yep.
So I landed 6 bookstores. I have my books on shelves. I'm overjoyed about that. And, and it's crazy because it never gets old for me. That excitement, planning that meeting, pitching my project, making a deal, whether it's a consignment or not, and just taking that picture and seeing that what I created is on these people's shelves. It hasn't gotten old to me yet, and it probably never will. Um,
Oh,
this
that feeling
week,
never get old.
it ain't gonna never get old, right? That's
No.
good. This week, per se, I kind of went on a different round, especially with Braylon Masters' name. And I went more so in the educational field, because I've had a handful of teachers reach out to me through social media. And they say, why do I want to put that in my classroom? That might be good for my second graders, and so forth. So I started this week, I embarked on a new journey. I said, we ain't fearing nothing. We are going to go out and we're going to try, and I'm going to do it. And I was able to link with quite a few preschools and learning centers and get my books there. And whether they add this to their classroom libraries, they have many libraries, or include this in their curriculum to help with their reading fluency, it's still there, So nothing's for nothing. So I've been challenging myself to step out. People from the outside look in, and they say, so you're doing it, I'm proud of you, and I'm sure that's genuine. And they see my journey, and they're like, especially those who are my closest of close circles, they remember when this was just an idea. So of course they see, they measure, they speak on my progression. But me being the professional that I am and the dreamer that I am, I'm like, all right, I'm good on this step, but let's go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So that's what I mean when I was referring a little earlier, when I spoke about fear.
Right.
We gonna punch fear in the throat, okay? Because we're not doing that.
I love it. I like that. I like that. So you being a mom, being a professional as educator and holding those type of roles, how important is it to have balance as a creative?
What's Let me tell you something. Woo, I lose sleep many days. Um, Sometimes because my schedule is just that full. I do want to reiterate that I don't teach every single day, but when I do teach, I usually teach for segments at a time. So it still takes up my time, you know?
Right.
And on the entrepreneur end, I'm in another field, entrepreneur wise. And then a mom, that's a job in itself. So I plan to the max. I do a lot of sticky noting. I use my Google Calendar from top to bottom every chance I can. Do I forget things sometimes? Of course I do. Am I delayed on responding to some emails? Of course I am. But I plan, I pray. I plan and I pray and I prepare. My three P's: plan, pray, and prepare. That's what I do. Some days my preparation is off. Why? Because I'm not a robot. I'm human and I'm tired
Yes,
sometimes. But
I
I
like
try to
that. I like
find balance. Yeah. I try to find balance in planning and preparing best I can.
that. So I want you to expound on that particular those tenets a little bit, just a tad bit.
Mhm. On planning, preparing, and praying.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So planning. What do I want to do? What is my mission? Identifying what is my mission for the week. Because I go week by week. Because the whole month is just too much to bear. So I plan. What is it I want to do? Okay, I identify that. I prepare. What do I need to do? Do I need to send 10 emails? Do I need to call this person? Do I need to drive 40 minutes away? So I prepare. I actually put one foot in front of the other. And I pray. I pray, and then I know some of us may not be as spiritual as others, but I put God in everything I do because without Him, where would we be? And so I pray because I say, God, give me a sign. If this is meant, show me. God, prepare me because I really want this. So give me the strength to present. Give me the strength to push. Give me the strength to pitch my idea. And give me the strength to execute it. That's extremely important to me. And that's how I go my day to day.
That's what's up, and I like that. This you got to be able to do all those things in the day because if you don't, your day's gonna go awful.
Yes, yes. And it may sound cliche, and I just want to notate something because although I may present myself well, I don't want anyone to think that I am portraying an image as if I don't fall short some days. Of course I do. And I have days when I kick the bucket. I say, okay, the towel is thrown in and I'll pick it up tomorrow. So I never want to portray a false depiction. I have days when I have doubt and I get writer's block and I'm a little more worried, than others, just as all of us creators get. So, but those three P's specifically is what I think has gotten me as far as I am today in my writing journey.
That's what's up. I like that because I like that. I love that so much. I love that. I think I'm gonna implement that in my own little add that to my own tool belt. You know.
Yeah, plan, prepare, and pray. It'll never fail you. It'll never fail you. And what you'll learn is that when you find yourself running into so many roadblocks in your preparation stage, it's usually an indication that what you're planning for is probably what's not destined for you in that moment. And that's what I've learned because I ran into a couple of roadblocks in my preparation phase.
Yep, and got to learn how to navigate those.
Mhm.
So the one thing that I do as I always well the one question that I always ask any guest that I have on the show, and this is usually this I usually ask this as we get to the close of the show. Um, First and foremost, I like to say I always say that life is a marathon. We all know this. There are several stages of there are three stages of that marathon that are important that I think are important. The beginning
Mhm.
stage is where you're coming out the gate, and you're doing your thing. The middle stage to where you're kind of at the middle, you have your pace, and you're going at that steady clip. And then then the end part of it, where you see the finish line coming, and you're not coasting to the finish line, but you're making that hard push toward the finish line.
Yeah.
Where do you, where do you see yourself in this particular marathon as not only as a writer, but also in as a mother, but also as an entrepreneur?
I would say, to speak very honestly, I would say that I'm definitely at that middle point. Um, I have found my pace because I know what I don't want to do. I'm aware of the direction I'm trying to go in. And I feel that although there's always room for more polishing, I feel that I know what I want my brand to look like, what I want my brand to make people feel like, and who I want my brand to reach, who I want it to be tailored for. So that to me all correlates with finding your pace. So I have been fortunate enough to step out of that realm of that beginning. So I would say I'm definitely in the middle in the writing end. Um, as a professional, I would say the same thing because I have been able at 32 years old and in the years that I've been an entrepreneur, I've had the opportunity to confidently identify my strengths and areas of in need of improvement. So that I think speaks volumes for my pacing as well. As a mom, I'm mommy my way, and I tell all moms that. Mommying is a verb, okay?
Yeah.
It's a noun, but it's a verb as well. I mommy my way. I do what works for me. I do what works for my children, and that may look completely different to someone else. But me being having a 12-year-old, I feel like I'm most of that in my eyes because my daughter has put taken me through several has been such an eventful experience. I can't even express to you how eventful it's been. So I am confident as a mom. I feel loving as a mom. Most importantly, I feel super capable as a mom. So I would have to say all around the borders of everything that you listed, I'm in the middle. I am in the middle. I have found my pace, and it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. I think that my abilities and my confidence, what I envision, is for the things that I possess deep within me that are positive. I envision for those things to just ooze out of me and just fall into somebody else and give them not just my children, not just my family, not just my closest circle, but I hope something that I've said to you tonight or anyone that's listening on, I just hope that it has made somebody want to put the phone down, turn the TV off, and write something. I hope it's made somebody want to call somebody and be like, girl, you better write that book. You better
Yeah.
do that. So at the end of the day, I wanna give to people and I want to give to my children. But we have to understand that giving is not always a tangible thing. Sometimes giving is igniting something within someone else.
So important. You have to be able to ignite that fire in somebody else for them to move forward and be able to succeed. And
Yeah.
I most definitely commend you on that part of it. But I am going to give you this particular opportunity right now to give yourself a shameless plug to let everybody know again who you are, where they can find you, what you got, what books you have, and where they can find you. So right now you have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, everybody. My name is Tequisha Baker. I am a children's book author, entrepreneur, most importantly, a mom. I am the writer of the Braylon series. My Instagram is for Life to Write. That's number 4, life, number 2, and write, as in write the book. My email is for life to write at gmail.com, and I'm on Instagram as well, same tag, for life to write. You all can get my books, you can check my website out for life2write.com. You will hear some background information about the author. You'll get a glimpse of some really cool, fun events that we've done out in the community. You get to meet the main character, Braylon, from the website, and you'll get some really good books at a reasonable price. This has been so fun. I'm doing what I love, and I just hope that I am pushing somebody to do the same.
Man,
100.
look at here. I'm telling
But
you,
like to write.
that's what's up. That's what, and I love that website because because I think for all of us, for especially for us as creators, especially writers, that it that literally is our life.
Yes. Yes.
That literally is our life. To put something on a page for it to be influential or to be inspirational, or even to kind of
Definitely.
force somebody to think about something or be a change agent. So
Mm-hmm.
most definitely, I love that website. I love that name.
So you've
I
been
love
on that
that.
website?
I actually have.
Awesome.
Yes, I have.
I get so
Yes.
excited when people go to my website, like, and then they subscribe. I'm like, did you subscribe yet?
Oh
So
yeah.
this
Oh
is so
yes.
cool. That's so cool. Thank you for that support. But see, that alone is support. People don't understand that.
They don't. They don't. And
Hmm.
even as a for someone from and both as creators and entrepreneurs, it's so very important for us to have that support from people. It doesn't. And I'm gonna say this and just be really, just honestly be real about it. Support is not always monetary.
Right.
A like or a follow on Facebook or Instagram,
Share it. Share
a,
it.
a share, a subscription to just subscribe to someone's webpage or someone's YouTube channel. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost you
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you nothing. But I think and also as writers, as you and I are writers, and everybody else that are writers, I think for me the joy comes from when someone reads something that I write and they leave a review, whether it's
Hmm.
positive or negative. For me, I'm
Whether
good.
it
I'm
doesn't
good.
matter.
I'm good. I'm good on both. I'm good both ways.
No, for real, because you want the honest opinion, and that constructive criticism piece was something that was hard for me to take, and I must admit that. But it can really be like the meat and potato of your artistry, for real.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and folks don't understand that. It's I'm like because I look at negative reviews of what I've written. I'm like, okay, that's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And folks, like I said, folks don't just really don't understand that. But I mean, but most definitely, I've enjoyed this particular conversation with you, man.
I'm
Man,
so
I
glad.
have, I have,
It's
and
been fun. Happy to be
and
here.
thank you. And I most definitely want to invite you back if whenever you want to come back. If you have a new release or something like that, you can come. You can come tell us
Yeah.
about it, and we can most definitely talk about it.
The ball is steadily rolling. I'll definitely keep you in the loop.
That works for me. That works for me. So but
Okay.
I am gonna give you one more opportunity because I know there's somebody who probably didn't hear you or probably didn't even
Okay.
see anything. But I'm gonna give you one more shameless plug. So go for it.
I am Tequisha Baker. I am a children's book author of the Braylon series, Braylon Masters the Dark, Braylon Masters his name, and the Braylon Masters the Dark Coloring Book Edition. My website is www.forlifetowrite.com. I'm also on Amazon. I'm on Instagram as For Life to Write as well. That's For Life to Write, number 4, life, number 2, write, as in write the book. Thank you all so much.
Yes. You are welcome. You are welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to introduce to some and then reintroduce to others. A very good, a very powerful writer, and also a good friend, and also someone who is a friend of the Author's Alley now, Miss Tequisha Baker. She is the
Thank
author
you.
of the she's the author of the Braille series, and I want you guys to most definitely please go check her out. Check out her website at forlifetowrite.com. Check her out on Instagram. Check her out on Facebook. Also be kind and also check out her books on Amazon. If you do
Hmm.
purchase a
I'm there
book or
too.
two, if you purchase a book or two or three or how many ever you purchase, please leave a
Or
review.
20. Who's counting?
Oh, oh yeah, nobody's counting. But but most definitely, please leave a review for this wonderful young lady because, as I stated before, reviews are vitally important for us as writers and authors
Hmm.
because it helps us to improve and be better. So
Definitely.
most definitely check her out on our social media pages. Also check her out on our website. If you if you see something that you like, if you see something on our website and you want to purchase it, by all means do that to show support. Like I said, you don't have to support it as monetary. It is also in the form of liking and sharing and subscribing, but also sharing, but also spreading the word out to put out this, let people know about this wonderful young lady. Now, as we conclude with this particular show, I want to leave everybody with this one thought. Success isn't measured by how much we do or how much we accumulate. Success, as far as I'm concerned, is measured by who we impact and who we affect. If we can affect someone in a positive and peaceful manner, I truly believe that we're successful.
Mhm.
because monetary gains don't mean a whole lot when you're not impacting anyone. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something to think about. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to again thank beautiful guest, Miss Tequisha Baker, for coming on
Thank
tonight
you.
and blessing us with her infectious and bubbly energy and her enthusiasm for what she writes and her enthusiasm for wanting to be a positive, authentic role model for kids. And I am very proud to have her as to know her as not only as a fellow author but also as a friend in the author's alley. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude our show for tonight. But tune in tomorrow evening because I have a special show planned for you guys. I'm going to have Miss Angela Thomas Smith, and she brought a crew with her. So we're going to unpack a whole bunch of things. But until that time, please, I want you guys to always be careful, stay safe, love on each other, and always take care of each other. Until next time, peace.